Hello and welcome to this unboxing video of Battlefront's Flames of War, the Battle of El Alamein, the War in the Desert starter set. I got this box on the launching day of version 4, that would be March the 11th, 2017. And so on the front you got an idea what the box, what it's going to be about. It's about the North African desert, British 8th Army versus the Deutschland Afrika Korps. On the back, it'll show you what's coming in the box. It gives you the nice list. Okay, so essentially you are getting 5 models of tanks, 2 that are German, 1 that's a Panzer III, a Panzer IV, and then of course you have got the Grant tank and then the Crusader tanks, along with the rule book, some dice, terrain cards, a getting started booklet, and a new thing here for Battlefront for Flames of War, because they have not done this before. They have done it with Team Yankee, where you have unit information cards. Well, let's open up and see what we've got. Okay. Okay. Making sure I've got everything. Wow, very neat and compact. Okay. Wow, quite a few goodies. It's quite packed for a starter kit. So let me put this over to one side and let's get down to the meat of it. So here we have a close-up of the Panzer IV Sprue. This doesn't, the detailing, it's pretty obvious there. It's crisp, it's clean. I think they took the hint from the Zvezda guys, who do make 1/100th scale military models as well, although not as detailed compared to these, where your track and your bogey wheels are in one piece. Now, of course, with the hatch of the Panzer Commander, the hatch here, I don't know if you can, yeah, you should be able to see it here. You have the choice of whether it is going to be open or shut, so chances are you probably want to put a commander perhaps on there. Now, what's also nice about this particular sprue is that it gives you the choices as to which particular gun that you want to put on your Panzer IV, because there are different versions of it where you have the long 75mm gun, but you also have the short 75mm gun as well, which is typical for the war as well, at the beginning of the war. Now, the setting is 1942 in the North African desert. At that time, the German Afrika Korps was very much on the offensive, and their main goal was ultimately to take the Suez Canal. If they could take the Suez Canal, cut the British supply line, because the British were depending on getting the supplies to and from other parts of the world, as opposed to going through the Suez Canal, go through the Mediterranean, as opposed to making the long trip around the Horn of Africa. Now, with this, we have the Panzer III Sprue, as you can see here. Okay, if you are not an expert in painting, well, that's okay, because the color, it's molded in a way that shouldn't be a problem. And again, you are given choices for the Panzer III Sprue. You have got 1, 2, 3 guns that you can choose from. There's part of me that's wondering if there a way I could do magnetize the guns and put them in the turrets so I can swap them out depending what is needed. Now, for the hatch, you have the choice of closed or open, depending. Now, you also have some spare bits, like you've got some spare track here that you can lay on there, and a few other little goodies on here, so you can go and personalize your tanks that way. So that's it for the Germans. Now let's take a look at the Crusaders. Now, the Crusaders here, you're getting 2 of the sprues. And again, if you compare the color of the plastic to the Germans, it's very obvious as to which side is which. I mean, unless you happen to know your tanks. But really, I think this set is geared for an absolute beginner, okay? Maybe not so much the veteran. That's okay. Veterans can take advantage of this too. I myself, I do not have any Crusaders or any Grants. I'm just trying this out to see how this works out. But again, with the Crusaders, you also have 1, 2, 3 different guns that you can try out. The last one, I believe, is a 6-pounder gun. You also have the turrets as well. So this, I believe, would allow you choices as far as what you can do with this. But again, you know, as with building up with a plastic model kit, you want to be careful how you clip the pieces off. Don't, you know, use a pair of sprue clippers when you are doing this. Okay, our last model that we have here is the Grant. American made, Lend-Lease, because the British, their tank losses were mounting in the desert, and they may not have been able to easily replace the losses that they incurred. Now, what's kind of interesting with the Grant, this also gives you the option, I believe, to put in the Lee, the General Lee tank as well. So you have choices here for that. And again, the bogies and the track, it's all in one piece. You have one body. Now, the difference is for the Grant, in the mini turret, you only have the 37mm gun. Okay, now for the hull-mounted gun, which this design really was a stopgap measure. It was something that we need to get a tank out. We need to mount a big gun on it. We haven't quite gotten there with our Sherman tank yet, but we're getting there. But this is the stopgap measure. So on this side, you have the short 75. Here you have the long 75. Deadly in either case, but still, the long 75 allowed them, I believe, for the gun to shoot over longer distances. Next up, ooh, hey, Commanders. Let's see what we have here. Now again, you don't have to put Commanders on your tanks, but again, this is fairly useful. This is fairly useful stuff. You've got Allied, you have got German. This really depends. You can give it a little bit of personality here as far as who's there, who's popping up, who's not, how far are they popping up. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good thing. Very nice to have for that. So again, you can do some customizing of your tanks if you so wish. What else? Dice. Okay. Compared to Battlefront's regular dice that I've used in their Flames of War, these dice are a little bit smaller, but they are the appropriate color, which is cool. It's regular D6 dice. You've got the kind of greenish color for the Africa Corps, and then the yellow and red for the Desert Rats, which represents the British 7th Armored Division. Okay. The Flames of War rulebook. Now, they are selling the hardbound version of the Flames of War rulebook. They have released it on the same day as this set. I decided probably more often than not I would be using the smaller version of the book, you know, when I go play with friends and whatnot. I think the big version is really nice when you're, you know, perhaps reading at night or reading on the free time that you may have. But again, it is typical up to Battlefront standards here, where it's color, you've got war photos, you've got their model photos. It gives you a quick start section, which, you know, it gets you into playing fairly quickly. It gives you an overview of World War II in Europe. It also talks a little bit about the desert, okay? What was going on? Why were they fighting in El Alamein? What was going on about that? So it also talks a little bit about the Eastern Front in 1942, Tunisia in 1943, which, you know, now the Americans are more involved in there, and you can easily put in a U.S. rifle company or a tank company because Shermans, you know, make their appearance there in numbers in comparison. And of course, it goes a little bit more into detail, and it talks about, you know, how do things work, you know, how is it that you're playing Flames of War. Some of the pictures look familiar from previous editions. They talk about the kinds of terrain, okay? They also go into detail about movement. They go into detail about the shooting. So essentially, if you look at the structure of a turn, you've got a lot of beginning things to do at the beginning of the turn, which I'm not going to go into here. And then it sorts move, shoot, and assault. Now, it's also got the rules for the artillery and whatnot. Now, keep in mind that they do give the Russian, British, and U.S. and Italian backgrounds. They also give special rules, okay, and selecting missions as well. So compared to the previous editions of Flames of War, there's included some new missions in there, which that's pretty good. I like that. Now remember, they do have a hardback version of this. I just decided to get the starter kit to see what that was all about. Okay, identity cards. Unit identification cards. Apparently these guys were using this at with Team Yankee. And they also give a handy reference card for movement orders. This is something new here for Flames of War. I like it. It adds a certain dimension to the game now. You know, and here you have got movement orders again. This is for both sides. This is a great reminder for all of us, veterans and beginners alike. But if you look at these unit cards, okay, you may notice, let me get these things out, but if you look at these movement cards, you can see, okay, you've got 6 cards, 3 German, 3 British. Essentially, it's giving you all the information that you need. It totally divides which side it is. They give you a picture of the unit. They tell you what kind of a unit it is. So, and what they've done with this edition, ladies and gentlemen, is that they incorporated an awful lot of some of the rules that they've incorporated into the chart here. And as a result, if you're looking at this, the rule book, compared to the other editions when they released the new rule books, it has definitely been cut down. But what I also find interesting with these cards, I think this will speed up play. I really think so. I think Battlefront scored on this one. However, I would love to see Battlefront release more of these. There are a lot of Flames of War veterans out there. They have the miniatures, and they would love to have these cards. I am absolutely certain of that. I don't know if Battlefront plans to release them or put them up on the website. I have no idea for that. Only time is going to tell for us, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. The next one are terrain cards. You know, that's the thing. With a starter kit, it's also a good thing for you to have terrain cards, which will allow you to, let's see if I can get this opened. Wow, talk about shrink wrapping. Well, I can't complain about the packaging of this, ladies and gentlemen, because the reality is, wow. But again, this is, you know, high quality production. This is what I would expect from Battlefront. Okay, so in here, what do you have here? Well, the terrain cards allow you to put terrain on your table. They're two-dimensional representations of three-dimensional objects, which if you don't have the 3D objects, this will work because it allows you, you know, to be able to take cover, hide behind, things like that. So that's really, really cool. Yeah, that's a real nice touch. I know they did that with their last open fire starter kit. Nice plus here that they included an objective markers, one for the British, one for the Germans as well. You can also look here and you can see that there are bailed out markers and there are ace markers. That I did not expect with that. That's very, very pleasant. So maybe there's something that I don't know about upcoming in the rules. Now, the last but not least, here is the Start Here booklet, okay, that you have here for Flames of War. So I think this is geared for those people who have not yet started playing Flames of War, or maybe you've started a little bit playing, maybe, you know, or even for veterans, it's an opportunity because there may be some little nuances, little twists in there. But I think it's really geared. I really think it's geared for the beginner, you know, getting started. So it gives you the assembly diagrams. It shows you, you know, how to do this. Okay, and it talks about your first game. They tell you how to set up for the map, where to set up the tanks and whatnot. It just walks you through this, the shooting step, okay, and then ending your turn, and then the starting step. Once again, they show you where do you look on the cards and whatnot. And then they talk about the missions that we have here, okay, which is, you know, tank duel. That's pretty straightforward. There, tank ace, this ought to be interesting. And then, of course, you know, on the back here, it's looking at future releases from Battlefront, which is counting the terrain and whatnot. I believe it is the week of the 18th that they are going to be releasing the Africa Corps and Desert Rat Intelligence Handbooks. Okay, and then the week after that, they're going to be releasing Rommel's Africa Corps and Monty's Desert Rat boxed sets. There's going to be further releases for that. Well, I have to say, for, you know, $35, you're getting an awful lot in here. You are getting the rule book, you're getting some dice, you're getting models of tanks, you're getting terrain. It's completely, it's a totally complete starter set. You don't need anything else to start playing Flames of War. If you like it, then you can go on and pursue it. Later on in 2017, they are going to come out with the Eastern Front, and there are a number of Eastern Front fans out there, and I know I'm one of them, that would love to see the coming out with the intelligence books for the Russians and the Germans, and the unit cards that would be very well useful for this. So there you go. This is the starter set entitled El Alamein. I hope that this has benefited you guys, and it'll give you something to think about whether you want to buy this or not. If you haven't started on North Africa like I have, I think this is a fun gateway to go in for beginners and veterans alike. All right. Hey, I hope this review was a benefit to you. Take care and God bless.